Hi, and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about how to use tags to organize your systems. We have the opportunity for John Tonello to walk us through things about the best practices of tags and policy files and how to use them with your Chef Infra. Automate your configurations to apply everywhere in operating environments agnostically. This webinar is going to teach and reveal you the many benefits of tagging, usefulness, how it can reduce cost and time, and improve efficiency. So let's go ahead and get started. And thanks again for joining. John, over to you.
Thanks, Michelle. That was quite the introduction. Today we're going to talk about a few things related to tagging, which is mostly talking about Chef Infra. So Chef Infra obviously is sort of at the heart of configuration management when it comes to Chef. And we'll talk about what tags are and how you can use them. We'll have a short demo as well, and then we'll be open to questions. This is going to be a pretty high level discussion of tags. And there's more information on the Chef website and in the docs. So Chef Infra, when you're using Chef to configure nodes, and these can be systems that are running anywhere, in public clouds like AWS and Azure, in your data center, could even be edge devices that you're configuring. The idea is standard declarative language. You're going to package and reuse your code, and you're going to use that code in your workflows, and use a version control system like GitHub to track that content. And everything that you're doing here is machine testable. And as Michelle mentioned before, it's environment agnostic, meaning you can write recipes and cookbooks with Chef Infra that apply to Linux, Mac, Windows nodes, different flavors of those systems, some rather obscure but still valid operating systems. We have a complete list of these on our website that you can look at, but it's basically every modern system. And this shows a little simple example of the package httpd do action install. That simple command is a resource that's installing some package and starting the service, and it's as simple as that. One of the key things when we talk about automation this way and configuration management is to make changes safely, consistently, and at scale. I won't read all the points here, but as your systems change, that first day is the easiest day really for managing a node. It's what do you do after that, and how do you keep them configured over time? So those changes, rather than going into hundreds, thousands, even millions of nodes and making manual changes, you update one piece of code in your recipe, perhaps, apply it everywhere, but also follow test-driven development practices, so you have checks and balances throughout. Because we all know that things change. There are new CVEs that come out. There are things that require updating. And when you have scale, which becomes very important in the tags discussion, that's very important. This is a quick overview. If you're unfamiliar with the Chef Infra and Automate and Infra Server, sort of how they work together. Chef Workstation is where you do your work. Downloading Chef Workstation is the developer's kit. It's freely available, allows you to do everything that I'm going to show in the demo today. Your cookbooks, recipes, profiles, policy files are stored on the Infra server, which feeds them back out to your nodes and ensures that your configurations are the way you want them to be. And then Chef Automate is the dashboard where you can sort of view everything in a single pane of glass. So tags really become useful as you scale. If you only have a dozen machines, it's pretty easy to keep track of them. But a lot of Chef users have thousands of nodes, and all those nodes do different things. So you might have web servers, Redis servers, you might have custom application servers, then you may have groupings of those within test, dev, and production environments. It can be easy to lose track of them. So tags give you a way to essentially assign arbitrary values that you determine and apply those to nodes. And then those become searchable labels, if you will, for those systems. And when you have tens of thousands of nodes, having a tag can really allow you not only to find stuff, but to apply changes or view just that grouping of nodes to take action on. And this is particularly important in scalability because, regardless of how hard you try, you're always going to get a bit of sprawl. And how best can you, take and focus your teams on finding where things are and what's happening. So Chef tags are arbitrary labels, and that doesn't mean that they're meaningless. It just means that you set them to be what you want them to be. And we'll see some examples too. And you saw in that previous slide, there were tags in that little bit of code that actually include CVEs or particular data center information, whatever that happens to be. You determine the taxonomy that you want to track, and there are a lot of good ways to do that. You're not just arbitrarily adding tags, but you have something in mind before you ever sit down to write a recipe or think about tagging. You've come through that process of, okay, this is meaningful for our teams. It's very useful at scale, as I just talked about. And you can build tags into your cookbooks and recipes and add logic around them. What does that mean? Well, if I tag something as a web server, for example, I can very quickly apply new recipes, updated policies, whatever, to nodes that have that particular tag. And you can obviously find them more quickly and easily. This is a really simple example of tags. Tags can be applied from the command line using Chef Workstation and the included application called Knife. And this is just knife tag create, the name of the node, and the name of the tag. And that will apply it. And you can do the same kind of thing to delete tags. That's okay for a few at a time, or if you're doing testing. But more often you would do something like in the second example, where I have a piece of a recipe where I'm including a profile, but I'm using this tag resource and I'm tagging this particular, any node that has this recipe applied. We'll get the tag Linux, Syracuse, and New York, which hints at where I am. It's not snowing today, which is nice for a change. I know Michelle's in Pittsburgh, so we sort of share a snowy side of the world. And then in this, there's a little bit of logic that says, hey, if this node is tagged as Syracuse, do something. And in this case, I'm just creating a file to export the actual tags to a file that I can then review later. And you'll see some of this in the demo. But for example, you could use resources to identify not tags, but just built-in Chef resources to identify OSs, like is it Debian, or is it Ubuntu? Is it CentOS? Is it Red Hat? Is it Windows? And then take action on that, which enables you to really keep all your code in one place, but only apply it where you want to. If I had a web recipe to create a Nginx web server, for example, I could say, hey, if it's running this version of Nginx, do this particular action. If I say, okay, I've tagged it with Syracuse, New York, and Nginx or Linux, then only do these things, and it won't apply to those machines that might be in a different data center, or different location, or have some other function. So now I'll quickly switch screens here and take you through the demo. In the first example I'm going to go through, I'm going to create, delete, and show tags from the command line using Chef Workstation and the knife tool. Then I'll show you how to include tags in your recipes and verify them with a simple Chef Inspect profile. Finally, I'll show you what this looks like in Chef Automate. Let me start by telling you a little bit about my environment. I'm running Chef Workstation on a Linux host. That's what you see right here. I also have Chef Automate and Chef Infra server here in my lab, and a couple of Ubuntu Linux nodes that are my target nodes. And let me just show you the environment here. This is the stuff that's installed with Chef Workstation, which is a free download. And now if I use knife, I can look at the list of nodes that I actually have configured. I have these 4, one Alma Linux, my 2 Ubuntu nodes, and a Windows 10 node that are running on here. Now in each one of these things, I can look at, I can show what's running and how each node is configured by doing a knife node show. In this case, we'll use this Ubuntu 1. And you can see I've already got a couple tags on there. At the bottom, Syracuse, New York, and Linux. Gives you a hint of where I am. I can add an additional tag to this node by doing a simple knife tag create. Give it the name of my node, and I'll call it demo tag. That. Take a second. There it goes. Now if I do a show again, you can see the output right here. There's my demo tag. Pretty straightforward. Also straightforward is deleting one of these tags. Use tag delete, name of my node, and demo tag, like that. Deleted it. Knife node show again. Pretty straightforward, and you can see that it's not there anymore. This process itself is it's okay when you're working on 1 or 2 nodes, but if you're in an enterprise, you probably have something a little more sophisticated, and you want to do tags on all sorts of machines and set different tags on different kinds of machines based on where they are, what they're doing, how they're used, perhaps the environment, whatever it happens to be. So in this case, I have a simple recipe in a cookbook called Tags, and this is the single default recipe. And you can see I'm tagging it just using the resource to tag, and there are the Linux, Syracuse, and New York that you saw before. And then below this, I have, if it's tagged, which is another built-in resource here in using Chef Infra, I'm saying, hey, if there is a tag called Syracuse, which there is because this node just got that, output all of the tags into a file in the root directory called tag report. And I'm using this embedded command here that will actually grab the node's tags and put them in that file. Now you notice here too I have the include profile because this is part of the new compliance phase that we have that really brings Chef Infra and Chef Inspect together. And that profile, I can reference it right within my recipe. And this is my simple profile. I'm just describing that file that I outputted. I'm checking for the values, and for each one, I want to make sure that that value is in that file, which will essentially confirm the tags. There's a lot of different ways you could do this, but this is sort of a simple, sort of digestible way that you can absorb this in the demo. Now, I could just apply this recipe to any particular node that I'm running using Chef Run. I could upload these with the knife cookbook upload to my infra server. I can tag it as a run list, but I'm going to use the policy file workflow, which enables me to basically bundle everything that I want for a baseline system all together in one, basically one immutable file. So for my Linux systems, I have a policy file. It's called Linux, and it's using my local repo. And the run lists are the chef client run. I'm creating a user. I'm also installing Cowsay to give me a pretty login when I shell into any device. And then here is my actual tags recipe that you just saw. Making this work, rather than using an old flow like Burke's or something like that, I can actually just execute a couple simple commands. And if I open a terminal here and I change it to my policy files, this is the same directory that this file lives in. I just do a chef update Linux RB because it exists already. And what this is doing is it's bringing together all of those cookbooks and the profiles that are associated with them. And now just to upload it, I just do a chef push. Prod is the name of the policy group, and then this block file that was output in the previous step. What this is doing is uploading everything, and that bundled, you'll see those IDs. They basically are getting a signature so that these are immutable and aren't easily changed, which is important in the enterprise environment. Now that this Linux policy file has been applied, I can go back over here and just show you again on this into you can see that it's got the policy name Linux and prod. That was done previously. That didn't happen just now, but you can see that it has the run lists in here. It also has some other information. It has these tags that are already in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete one of these tags manually, and then I'm going to run the chef client to update it. Let's see this one. Do this again, and you can see that it's gone. Now I'm going to remotely run knife on the chef client on the remote machine. I could SSH into it, but I'm just going to do it using knives. It's easier with a single terminal to do this thing. I'll put in the actual command, put it on the chef client. So it's running, it's applying the tag. You can see that output file was created. You can see the actual tags in this output here. And there's the output. So you can see here's my other profiles for my other recipes running, creating the chef client, running the cron job, creating my user, installing Cowsay, and here's the confirmation report at the bottom of the screen. It shows that everything is good to go. Now this has all been done obviously through the command line. Let's step over to Chef Automate. This is the Chef Automate dashboard, and we'll see a little bit. And here you can see my nodes that I have. Here's our Ubuntu 1 node right here. I can also check over my compliance to see, hey, everything is compliant. It's all blue. Everything is good to go. But I'm going to go over here and show you in the actual infrastructure view. Here's my run list of everything that's in here, including, hey, I created that file. And there it shows a little diff. I can look at the diff if I want to. I can look at the attributes.
And I can look at normal, which is sort of where these are. And I can see for the tags that, yes, they're all there. Is even the Syracuse one, which I previously deleted. Another way to look at this too is to go into my infra server view for a particular node. Here's Ubuntu one again. And in this view, I can actually see the tags in these nice colored things. And I can, if I wanted to, I could add other ones here and do a variety of different things. One of the keys for tags is being able to do not only logic in your recipes, so you can say, hey, if a certain machine has a certain tag, you can apply certain attributes, configurations to that node or skip other ones. Also, because you can search based on tags, you could actually go into infrastructure, filter by over here, and I can say by chef tag, and I can say, let's Syracuse. Oh, there's Syracuse. And it'll show me, hey, all these machines are tagged with Syracuse. Hopefully this gave you a good example of how to use tags and a taste for some of the ways that you can use them in your enterprise environments to really get a handle on a lot of information and customization within your full IT estate.
So that wraps up the demo. I hope you saw some interesting examples there and get at least a hint of how to start using tags. There are great resources on docs.chef.io where you can delve into this more deeply. And with that, I'll turn it over to Michelle.
All right, thanks, John. I learned some new tactics, and I know that I love organization. So this makes me very happy because I know how cluttered things can get at a quickly escalated period. So questions, I know that I asked everyone to put that into the chat. I do see one question so far, so keep them coming. John, are Amazon and Azure tags the same as Chef tags? That's an excellent
Yeah,
question.
that's a good question. If you're ever using public clouds like AWS and Azure, there are tags that are part of those cloud systems. These chef tags are not the same thing. Like you can't necessarily use like the tagged syntax that you saw in the demo to act upon those tags. However, you can take system values and translate those into tags, which is a common practice, meaning you're taking some resource within the public cloud environment, and it's sort of a built-in environmental variable that you can use. And then you can actually convert some of those into tags. You can also say you have a region, US East 1, or whatever it happens to be for you. Those are actually reachable through existing chef resources, but you may want to use tags as a way to sort of lock in within your code some clearly apparent other metadata about that as well. But no, they're not the same thing, and we could have a whole separate webinar on tackling that particular issue.
That, oh, good. That does answer the question. Fantastic. And then someone had asked about resources, and what we'll do is this webinar will be available on demand. And in your chat, I have put in there the resources that are best for this to go over. And any other questions? I don't I don't see any, John. You must have did a great job giving the people what they want.
Thanks, Michelle.
My pleasure. Thank you all for joining, and we appreciate it. And look out for the next one. And remember, you can always catch this on demand if you want to repeat of the tags and how it can help you organize.
Thanks, everybody.